Hey, welcome into Shockerland. Thanks for joining us on another great episode. I'm Billy here with Kyle, and we're ready to roll. We got a lot to get into this week, so let's jump right in. Here's what we're going to do and look at this week. We talk a little bit, just real briefly, about that Oklahoma State win. It's in the past, who cares, but we want to mention it, get some reaction to it. And then we're also going to talk about the Oklahoma game coming up, and I would say this is the Oklahoma podcast. Okay, this is what we're going to focus on this week. I think that's what people care about. It's going to be a big game at Intrust Bank Arena, so we're going to break that one down and talk about that quite a bit. We're also going to get into the rankings. Wichita State's number 3 in the NCAA in the AP poll, so we'll talk about that as well. And then we've got a little bit of fun way to wrap up the show with some whiteboards and some percentages and even predictions, what we think will happen later on this season. So let's jump right in real quick, Kyle. Wichita State got a good win on the road against another Big 12 team, which is significant in and of itself, but they beat Oklahoma State. What did you think about that game?
I liked it. Yeah. I mean, it's Oklahoma State's a borderline top 50 win, and a road win especially is phenomenal. Shockers now are 2-0 against the Big 12 this year, 3-1 over the last 2 years. And with Oklahoma coming to town this weekend, they have a chance to go to 5-1, which is pretty darn good. Okay,
sometimes it can be hard to remember what happened. Obviously we weren't there; it was on the road in Stillwater. But the Shockers, the offense did not show up until the second half. They were losing. They had only scored something like 9 points with 14 minutes into the game. It was a pathetic first half, and then suddenly Landry Shamet comes alive. How nice was it to see him? He eventually finished with 30 points. I think he had 23 in the second half. They needed that.
Yes, he literally carried the team on his back.
Literally, come on, literally. Yes.
This guy's a grammar Nazi.
Yeah, I know. I don't like that phrase. Literally.
But Shaman was phenomenal. He, like you said, the Shockers struggled that first half. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what to think. It looked like we were going to be blown out there early on, but the Shockers defense kept us in the game while our offense was still on a plane from Wichita, and so they figured it out late in the first half and the second half, and Shaman said, I'm not going to lose this game, and so he drove the lane frequently. He got to the free throw line, I think 14 or 16 times, which is just crazy, and he was a difference maker.
I don't know that there's a lot of guys who can do that on this team. We saw Willis have a breakout game earlier in the year. Samaje did against a team that wasn't so good, and I think it was Savannah State. Maybe Shaq Morris could do that. Could take over a game. There's not many who could take over a game like Landry Shamet. And even, let me throw this out there real quick too. I think it was Mike Adams was the commentator. Mark Adams for on ESPN2. He said something, and this was as Shamet was going off and having an amazing game, 30-point game. He said Landry Shamet is better than Ron Baker and Fred VanVleet. Okay. Either that's the highest compliment or those are fighting words. I'm not sure which one.
Because
Shocker fans, love those two. And those are not just good guys in past Wichita State history. Those are now NBA players. Can we compare Landry Shamet to NBA guys right now?
Well, I mentioned this briefly in my last article, but it's really hard to compare them because they're different people, they're different players with different skill sets. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to have to say something here. So I think right now I would agree with Mark Adams.
Wow.
I think Shamet is the best shooter among all three of them, especially from the perimeter. He pretty much is a blend of both players if you think about it. He has the driving ability like VanVleet had. He has the defense like Baker. Maybe not quite to that extent right now, but he's still pretty good. And if you're talking about a ceiling for all three of those players, Shamet is above both Baker and VanVleet.
Wow.
And I know that's might be heresy because Baker and VanVleet they've reached legend status in Wichita.
Legend status, and they've done it at the next level. They're not just NBA guys. They're multi-millionaires now because of the way they play basketball. So that's just a super high bar. I'm hesitant to say that, but I get it. I can see that, and we've seen Landry do some amazing things on the basketball court for sure. So then it makes you think, how soon will it be sooner rather than later that Shamet is playing in the NBA? But we'll get to that. That's coming up later in the show. So good win for Wichita State in Stillwater at Oklahoma State. So the fruit of that, so to speak, is the NCAA, the poll, the AP poll came out, and the Shockers jumped up, now ranked number 3 in the nation. Now part of that, and let me just throw this out there too, let me ask you this. A lot of teams lost that were above Wichita State. So it was a remarkable week of basketball in which you see KU fall flat completely. Florida lost a couple of games. A lot of teams who were ahead of Wichita State have fallen behind now. The question then is, does Wichita State deserve to be number 3, or did they just fall into that because so many spots were vacated as teams lost and had bad losses? KU's losses, these were not buzzer beaters that were just came down to the wire. They lost by 10 points to Washington, to some rough teams. Does Wichita State deserve to be there, or did they just happen to be there and they're benefiting from some teams flopping?
They definitely deserve it.
Okay.
But as you know, with polls, the only way you can move up for the most part is you either be an incredible team, like Arizona State did this week with Kansas, or the teams above you lose. And I think that's kind of what's been factored in. And I think to begin the season, the Shockers were ranked a little lower than they probably should have. If they had Kentucky or Kansas on their jersey, they probably would have started the season number 2 or number 3.
Yeah, I get that.
And so, if you look at the analyticals, like Ken Palm or ESPN's BPI ranking, the Shockers are number 2 on BPI, and on Ken Palm, I believe they're 4 or 5 right now. So they're in that range, and so I think you really can't argue against the spot where they are right now. They're
number 3. They've got some quality wins. We mentioned the Big 12 wins. They took Notre Dame down to the wire. And Notre Dame has faltered since then, which is why they're back 15 or 16 now, maybe something like that. But yeah, so the one loss was at the buzzer, was a close one basically.
One point.
Yeah.
And they'd be undefeated right now.
And it was a quality team. It was a ranked team. And it was in a tournament play. So they don't have a bad loss.
No.
Some of these other teams have a bad loss, let me tell you.
They did.
And I think that's why it was a little surprising Michigan State got jumped by Villanova. Michigan State was there ahead of Villanova at first, and then Villanova jumped over them to go number 1. Michigan State, who did beat Notre Dame, is there at number 2, and then the Shockers are number 3. So I would be hesitant, especially if the Shockers were higher than 3, especially because Michigan State beat Notre Dame. There's that comparison. That's all we have right now. We have a bunch of comparison things right now.
And I have no problem with where the Shockers are at number 3.
Yeah.
Because Villanova, they haven't lost yet. They've been great every year. They won a national title 2 years ago. Michigan State coming off of a great season. And so I think Shockers are right where they deserve to be.
Can I just say I don't know, it's weird that the Shockers are getting respect. That for so long we've been over. It's like, hey, we're here, we're in Kansas. No, not that team. The other team, the Shockers, are here in Kansas, and we're pretty good. So look at us. And now the nation's like, oh yeah, number 3, 3 in the nation, third best team in the nation. Oh, okay. Thank you for that respect.
And it's so odd
in December
because the last 4 or 5 years, I've always had something to gripe about when it comes to polls and seedings and rankings. And this week I'm like, okay, 3.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
Yeah, we're good.
That seems fair.
We're good. So it almost pushes you to the point where, oh man, now we're bearing this. We're a target now. Now we've got to deal with this, and every team is going to come and play their best. That brings us then to this weekend.
Yes.
Oklahoma.
Good transition.
Hey, there you go. Oklahoma is coming to Wichita. Now, it's not at Koch Arena. It's at Intrust Bank Arena. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, too, and the differences there. But a showcase game. Last year, Oklahoma State did this. Oklahoma State came to Wichita and played Wichita State in Intrust Bank Arena and beat the Shockers. This time it's Oklahoma. I would argue, I don't know about last year, this year Oklahoma is probably a better team than Oklahoma State.
Yes. So
this is going to be a tougher matchup, even though the Shockers went on the road and beat Oklahoma State. Now they're here in Wichita, so they're going to have that home crowd, which will be good for the Shockers. But Oklahoma's a tough team, and they've got some people to watch and break down this matchup for us.
Well, OU is a perennial, I don't know if I'd say powerhouse, but they're a really good program.
They're good, yeah.
And so they usually make the NCAA tournament. Last year was a bit of a down year for them. They were rebuilding, had a lot of young talent. Well, this year that young talent's 1 year older, 1 year more experienced, and they're currently 24th in the coaches poll. They're just outside the top 25 in the AP poll. I believe they're 28th on Ken Palm. So this has the potential to be a top 25 opponent. And OU's going to be gunning for the Shockers. I mean, this is their biggest non-conference opponent on their schedule, and so it'll be a dogfight.
Yeah. And then I have not looked. I didn't think to look at what the odds makers have it, what Vegas has it at. I imagine the Shockers are a favorite, or should be.
They will be.
But the one key there for Oklahoma is they've got this guy named Trae Young. Oof. And Trae Young is a freshman. He's not this experienced guy. He's a freshman, and he's almost at 30 points a game. He has been lighting it up.
He's been insane out there.
What do the Shockers need to do to win this game, considering they're facing probably the most talented player they've seen yet? They've seen some talented guys, but this guy's at a whole nother level. How do you stop Trae Young? And more specifically, how do you win this game if you're the Shockers?
I think the only way you can stop Trae Young is to pray. And then pray a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because this kid, like you've been saying, he's averaging 28 points per game.
Yeah.
He's a 5-star recruit. His final 2 choices it was between OU and Kansas. He chose OU because that's where he's from. And I think the best way we can stop him or slow him down is just to really put a tall guy like Zach Brown on him, who's 6'6", who can defend him well. Brown's been dealing with a knee injury, and so he might not still be 100%, but just try to double him up if you have to, and let anyone else score on OU's team.
That's one strategy, and I've seen that, is you lock it down and try to shut Trae Young down. There's another strategy you could take, and I don't know, maybe I'm leaning this way, because here's my question is, does it matter? Does it matter if Trae Young goes off for 30? And the reason I say that, and you'd think, oh, of course it does. If you get a guy who scores 30 points, you're in trouble. But let's look at previous games, okay? So Cal, who the Shockers played.
He was quite the scare in Maui.
Yeah, in Maui. Don Coleman, and he's a guy back from my hometown in Augusta, Georgia, went off. Had an amazing game, and everybody knew this was a talented guy. He scored 35 points, hit 4 threes, had an amazing game. Shockers won. Okay, then they got to play Marquette. Andrew Rousey, okay, goes off for 26 points against the Shockers. Shockers won. So South Dakota State, we remember that game. That was a struggle. Mike Daum goes off for 31 points against the Shockers in Koch Arena. Dude scores 31 points in Koch Arena. Shockers won. And then Oklahoma State last week, Tavarius Shine goes for 20 points. Now, you may not remember that name as much. Almost half of them, 9 points, were from the free throw line. But we have 4 guys who scored 20 or more against the Shockers, and it did not matter. The Shockers still won. So can Trae Young go off for 30 points, 35 points again, and the Shockers still win?
Yes,
you think so?
Absolutely.
That's what we've seen.
That's what we've seen is the other team might have the best player of the game, which we can argue whether or not that's true or not, with Shamet being out there on the court. But they could have a guy drop 30, but the Shockers more than likely will be the better team. And so one of their guys is going to get their points, and that's fine. We can talk about if that's alarming at all that one player is going off for so many points, but it's just, I don't know. To me, it's.
Well, here's what I'm going to look for then. And I don't pretend to know Greg Marshall's mind. I mean, obviously he's got the credentials and the experience and the knowledge to whatever he's going to do is probably going to be right and smarter than me. But is he going to be a coach who says, guard him, but let him score 30. Who cares? We've done that all season long. 30 points is not going to beat us. And in fact, the Shockers are averaging 80-something points a game. You're going to have to score 90.
Yeah.
So you can give up 30, but 60 more points has to come from that OU starting, the other starting 4 in the bench.
Good luck
I don't know
with
if
that.
they have that. Yeah. So fine. Let Trae Young go off. That's not going to scare the Shockers in the scouting report, I don't think.
No, and I must say, to me, it's slightly concerning that this has happened 4 times already this year.
Okay, that's a good question. Is this a problem? Yeah.
In years past, the Shockers have been known to lock down the opposing, opposing team's best player, and they did that with so many times with Takale Cotton. They did that with Zach Brown for the last 2 or 3 years, and this year so far we just haven't been able to do that. And I don't know. Like you said, maybe that's part of the game plan. I doubt it.
Yeah.
But it's something to monitor going forward.
I don't know. Sure. I mean, we saw it, to give an NBA example, we saw last year with Russell Westbrook, went off for a triple-double every game. Still didn't win a lot. I mean, they won some, but no, they didn't. And they're winning even fewer now with better players, which is odd.
That's a different story.
Yeah, that's for our other podcast that we'll create one day. Poor Thunder. But okay, so Trae Young is a guy to watch just because we're going to see him one day in the NBA.
Oh yeah, probably next year.
Yeah, he could be a one and done. And what amazing talent that is. And yeah, born and raised there in the South. I think is he from Amarillo? I think, but grew up in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So that's a guy to watch out for this game. The Shockers. Business as usual, I would think. Rely pretty heavily on Shamet and Shaq Morris, and hopefully Shamet's healthy again. Shamet, we talked about this from the Oklahoma State game. He had a guy land on him from about 6 feet in the air, and just
Yeah, that was a little scary.
Wow. That was horrifying, but he popped back up.
I cringe every time Shamet falls to the ground anymore. I'm always worried about his foot or
I do as well.
Something.
And part of me wants to say, Shamet, would you go eat a few more cheeseburgers? Like, get some meat on your bones. And I wonder if that may hurt him in the NBA. If he gets the NBA, they want him to beef up a little bit more because he seems a little fragile. Then again, Tayshaun Prince was that big around and had an amazing career, so that may not be a problem. Kevin Durant, it may not be a problem, but
he'll get bigger. I'm sure.
Yeah, he'll put it on, and he's only a freshman. He's got time to grow and mature. So, in his body. So, okay, here's the other factor in this game for Oklahoma. It's played at Intrust Bank Arena. It's not at Koch Arena, and there is a difference.
There is a sizable difference.
Now, I was there last year when Oklahoma State came to Wichita and played the Shockers at Intrust Bank Arena, and the Shockers laid an egg. And I don't know if you blame that on the venue, but it is different. It is not the home court nets. It is the home court advantage when it comes to fans. But what do you think? What do you think the difference is between these two venues?
It's weird because when you think about it, Intrust, 15,000 people, Koch, 10,000. You think, 5,000 more fans, it'll be louder, it'll be more intimidating for the opponent, but it's not. And I think it's with the architecture of the buildings. Like when Koch, everyone has a good seat, it feels like you're right on top of the court. Because it's a dome, all the sound just kind of bounces and condenses towards the court, and so I think the Intrust Arena just is more of an NBA feel. It's more relaxed. You probably get a lot more fans that don't go to the games more often, and so they might not be used to screaming their heads off like I am, and so it's different. And the Shockers did lose last year against Oklahoma State, but before that they had gone 6 years straight winning there, and so. I think the Oklahoma State game was just an aberration, and the Cowboys just showed up to play and just played angrier.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad to say.
I think it's clear the atmosphere is better at Koch Arena just because it's the roundhouse, it's the design. You mentioned it. I mean, there's no bad seat in the house there. I mean, you're right there on top of the court. It's a bit more spread out at Intrust Bank Arena. Parking is
horrible.
I was about to say parking is better at Intrust Bank Arena, but I don't think so. Parking's bad at both. Let's be honest with you. You're walking in the cold ways. But yeah, there's some good and bad. I think part of it is maybe a bit money. You want to get more money, more ticket sales, and you do.
Oh yeah.
For this game.
Can't really blame them.
ESPN's there. It'll be on ESPN2, 3 o'clock on Saturday. So anyway, I feel like we're trying to make excuses potentially, but it should not prevent the Shockers from playing as well as they can.
No,
at all.
And they'll be prepared and more focused this year because I I think last year, the Oklahoma State game, they were coming off of a couple wins. There was talk of them. I can't remember if they were ranked or not. I don't think they were ranked, but if they had won that game, they would have most likely been ranked.
Yeah.
And so I think the players kind of got in their heads that they were better than they were, and they just came out flat and uninspired. And so I think having this team with so many seniors this year, they're more focused. They'll come out ready to go, and I expect a good game for the Shockers.
There is a difference between 18, 19, 20-year-olds and 20, 22-year-olds,
yes,
for sure. Yeah,
big difference.
There is. Trey Young's aside. Okay.
One more thing about Trey Young. Yeah. And this is just kind of
a do it.
tidbit. So it came out in an article last week that apparently Trey Young is deathly afraid of birds. Yeah. And so his fellow teammates have kind of hazed him about this. And I tweeted this a few days ago how the student section a lot of people should dress up as birds and just really intimidate him, get in his head, make bird sounds. I don't know, but it's just it's interesting. And
I got to be honest with you, if we see birds in the student section, I think that you get some of that credit for relaying that information.
10% credit. That's all.
Is there a student section? Is there? I mean, it's
at Intrust.
There are some tickets, right?
Yeah, they still have their allotment.
Yeah.
I think it's behind one of the goals.
It's tougher because it's not on campus, so the students have to go. But yeah, okay. Yes, it would be amazing to see just people dressed in bird attire.
Do a united bird chant with the whole that student section. I don't know. It could be fun and interesting.
That's the beauty of college basketball. You wouldn't see that in the NBA. So, okay. We're about 20 minutes in here. So here's the segment we want to do. We have some whiteboards, some dry erase boards. And I'm going to throw out a percentage question, and we are at the same time, we're going to write down our answers on a scale of 0% to 100%. How likely is this thing to come true? So we're going to do it at the same time. We're not looking, we've not rehearsed this, we've not talked about what our percentages would be before, and we're just going to kind of rapid fire. And if we need to stop because something's ridiculous, we will stop. Because I might need to justify myself or
that could happen.
You on the other way around. So here we go. First one. What are the chances Trey Young, Oklahoma guard, freshman guard, scores 25 or more Saturday? He's averaging 28. What are the chances Trey Young scores 25 or more on Saturday? Go. Oh, that was bad.
I know, I'm not used to writing.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, ready?
Go.
15%.
Oh my goodness.
85.
15. That's different. You don't think he's going to score 25?
Just call it a hunch. I think this game is bigger than he can even imagine, and
maybe.
I just don't think he'll be prepared for the environment and for the Shockers' defense.
Okay, and
I could be dead wrong.
85. Together we make 100.
That's true. I could be dead wrong. It would not surprise me, but just call it a hunch.
Part of my thing is the Shockers, for whether it's planned or not, whether it's intentional or not, they give up big points to stars.
They have been,
and so I think that will continue.
You are the odds-on favorite for that one.
I'm going to write this. They're going to remember this because we're going to revisit that one.
Might have to delete this segment.
Okay. Oh, I was supposed to do the other one first. Okay, my bad. What are the chances Wichita State beats Oklahoma? Go. They play Saturday, 3 o'clock. Wichita State beats Oklahoma.
Boy, my penmanship is terrible.
Second guessing now. Ready?
Ready.
Go. 95.
95%.
I only did 60. I think that probably that should be higher. You have no doubt. You have 5% doubt. Oklahoma's good.
They're good. The Shockers are better.
Wow.
I think the Shockers are just really in the zone right now.
Okay. I said 60%. You said 95%.
I don't think they're going to lose at Intrust 2 years in a row.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean, 60% is more than likely it'll happen. But yeah, you got that confidence. Okay.
Next one.
I'm liking this. Okay, let's do another one. What are the chances the Shockers are? This goes back to your prediction.
Okay.
What are the chances the Shockers are ranked #1 at some point this season? Go.
All right. Ready?
Go. 91.
91
You said 91. I said 65%.
Well, you're living in the 60s.
I know, and that's this game's not fun when you live in the 60s. But
I'm sitting on the fence.
I think there's a good possibility, but I also think Villanova may just keep winning. Michigan State may just keep winning. That window.
That's my biggest
fear. It's not 100% controllable.
Because the Shockers could win 10 in a row, and they could end up, at number 2 the whole time.
Okay.
Just like their undefeated season.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay. Now this one's a little easier. You may laugh at this one, but I think it's important, and it'll go along with future ones. What are the chances Wichita State will make the NCAA tournament?
Ooh.
Will make the NCAA tournament. Ready?
Ready.
Go. You said 100%. I did 98%. So we're very close here. I left the 2% possibility that
you're being more realistic with this than me, I think.
that Greg Marshall gets captured by ISIS. And
I mean, you never know. Weird things could happen.
Even then,
if he were abducted by aliens,
if Greg Marshall is abducted by aliens, even then I think Kellen Marshall takes over and they're fine, and they still make the tournament. So
I can see that.
What would that be? It would have to take. Like everybody gets the measles.
Yeah,
everybody collectively did not get vaccinated. Vaccinated. Yeah. Okay. So that being said, 98%, 100% they're going to make the tournament. What are the odds Wichita State will be a 1 seed? So top 4.
1 seed.
1 seed. In the tournament, go.
Okay. This one's a little more realistic.
Ready?
Yep.
Go.
70%.
Ooh, you said 70.
Wow.
I said 85%. Here's why. The American Conference is good. I don't want to downplay that. I'm not seeing an elite team emerging right now.
No.
Cincinnati is not played well.
They've had 2 tests so far against Florida and Xavier, their crosstown rival, and they failed both of them. They lost both. Xavier won, they got blown out by. Cincinnati plays Mississippi State and UCLA this week. So they do have a couple chances for some quality wins, but you're right. I see about 4 or 5 other top 50 teams, but I don't see any other top 10, top 15 teams right now.
So I see what I see is it would take a bad night for the Shockers to lose in the American Conference right now. And if that's the case, if the Shockers run the table in the American Conference,
they won't.
They're a 1 seed.
That's for
sure. If they do, they're a 1 seed. If they lose once, I think they're still a 1 seed.
Oh yeah.
So
I think they could lose 2 or 3 times and still be a 1 seed.
Still be a 1 seed. So
assuming they beat
I can't imagine that continuing to be a threat. I don't see the American Conference as being a threat right now to the Shockers. So
no, I agree.
I'm finally more optimistic than you. How about that? That feels good. Okay, how about one more? We got to wrap this up.
Do it.
Okay. Oh boy, this could be on a bad note too. What are the chances that Landry Shamet is right now currently playing in his final season as a Wichita State Shocker? What are the chances?
Oh man, boy, I don't know what to put on this one.
Go. This may be high. Ready?
Sorry.
Go. 88% you said. You said 88%. I said 40%. Boy, this has really shown me we are not on the same page as much as I thought. But that's fine. That's good. We have different opinions. Why do you think?
So you're saying there's a greater chance he returns?
I'm saying he is more likely to come back. You're saying 88%.
Right now mock drafts are all over the place. You can't really read a lot into them right now. But he's in the late first. I've seen some in the mid first, and he is a special player. The only concern I have about him is his foot injury history.
Yes.
And I don't know how much of a red flag that is to NBA scouts and coaches.
Yeah.
But right now, if he's healthy the rest of the year, he's gone.
Really?
He's going to be a first round pick.
I mean, what if
Sorry, Shocker fans. I hope he comes back.
Is winning or losing a factor for him? Like if they run the table but then lose in the conference championship and then lose to Kentucky in the second round. Why did I even say that? I shouldn't say that. But if that happened, do you think he would be so dissatisfied by the team's performance that he would want to come back? Or would that... I mean, if they go on and win it all, they win a national championship, go to the NBA. What else do you have to do here?
It just depends where he's slated to be picked.
Okay.
If he's projected to be a top 16, if he's projected to be a lottery pick or top 20 even,
yeah.
I mean, he's got to go.
Well, and the NBA is such a guard league right now.
You have to get the guaranteed money while you can.
Yeah.
You never know, he could get hurt next year.
You're convincing me, and now I'm sad. Okay.
So enjoy this year, everyone.
Yeah.
It could be his last. I hope not, but we'll see.
Well, and you know there are others who this definitely is their last year. So,
yes, most of the team.
This is a big year for the Shockers. So hey, that was fun. We'll do that again in the future. Hey, thanks for joining us, and again, check us out. Shockerland.com's got all of our content there. Follow us on Twitter @Shockerland. If you've got any questions or topics or questions for our whiteboard thing that you want us to tackle, throw it out there on Twitter. Contact us through the website. We're on our Facebook page as well, Shockerland there. Follow us, and we'll be back for another Shockerland episode next week to talk about the reaction from the Oklahoma game, and then we're wrapping up. We're less than 3 weeks away now from the opening game of the American Conference.
Getting excited, yeah.
And it's Houston's the first home game in January, but there's a few.
And the first road game's at UConn.
Yeah,
which should be interesting.
Another disappointing one for me, UConn. They should be better, but
they need to fire.
Shockers are looking good right now. Some of the rest of the AAC's not, but the Shockers are looking good. So for Kyle, I'm Billy. Thanks for joining us again on Shockerland.